And we're off. So, hi there. It's Combie from Round Corner Brewing in Melton, Mowbray. This particular business has quite a special place in my heart because Matt from Great Food Club and I met at Round Corner Brewing on the 20th of March. We met there for a beer and a catch up and a chat. And little did we know that as we drove away from that meeting, the government was going to make an announcement that that very evening pubs had to close to the public. So we really wanted to check in with you to see what's happened since the 20th of March. Yep. So what has happened since the 20th of March?
Yeah. Well, thank you first for speaking about this. It's always good to have an opportunity to talk about our business and hopefully some positivity amongst, quite a tough time for everyone in our industry. Yeah, kind of when you mentioned the 20th, I actually had left, I split my time between Melton, Mowbray and London. I left on the 18th and actually was quite emotional because I really didn't know what I'd be coming back to. That the lockdown was imminent and, I had to be with my family, and it was kind of just a very weird time. But we had spent the previous week anticipating that our world would change, and bearing in mind that 95% of our revenues come from on-trade, both our own taproom, but also even more so 300 odd pubs and restaurants that we serve all around the East Midlands. And so to see 95% of your business disappear overnight is quite a scary thing. But actually, kind of what we took it as is a small business. We have 7 employees, so it's not as if we had hundreds of employees, and the mechanics of that, all kicked in. Is we kind of sat down and thought about what's the best way for us to A, survive, and B, hopefully move beyond that, and what do we have power to do, and we really realized on, okay, so all of that revenue's gone, and we exercise no control over when it's coming back. But what we do have is the ability to kind of serve people directly and locally where we are. And so our tap room was closed, but actually we had 500 of these 3 1/3 pint growlers, they're called. They're just kind of reusable, recyclable beer vessels. And we started a beer delivery service. So direct to people's homes, they would pre-order, and then we would deliver those in a kind of in a secure and safe way to people who are locked down. And we started with probably on that day, on the Friday, 8 people in Stamford. The next day there was 9 people in Melton. And really, grew and grew and grew. We think based on during lockdown, and particularly that peak period of late March and early April, it was a very tough time for people. And to have something in the week to look forward to that was, delighted them, and, was great beer, really sort of did a lot of good for people. So I don't think we'll claim any great social enterprise. We are a brewery, but it gave us a lot of good feelings that
and a way to remain connected with your customers.
Yeah, 100%. And actually it ended up, so when I say 8 people in Stamford and 8 people in Melton, we now end up with about 600 people across both of those areas. So it's moved beyond retention into much more in-depth relationships in our region than we've ever had. Yes, we have 300 pubs, but those pubs are scattered all around the East Midlands and even further afield. So we've definitely got, I would say, more intense relationships with people in especially Melton, Mowbray, but also Oakham, Stamford, place like that, even up as far as Grantham. So and then we kind of complemented that when situation allowed in mid-April by opening up the brewery to collections. So every Saturday between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Over 100 people just queue around the brewery in a kind of, yet again, a nice safe environment and collect beer. And then kind of the final one then is we, like every other brewery in the country, when deprived of our normal route to marketplace, being pubs and clubs typically, started up our own web shop for national deliveries, and that's gone really, really well. And that complemented with what was a very small part of our business, which is serving some of the online providers of beer, craft beer, out to the national beer drinking community. Their model exploded, and with that, we were able to sell them beer. But that took a bit of time because our business was very, focused on draft beer, both keg and cask, and it takes time to kind of get your whole beer stock back into a different format, being cans. But if I contrast kind of, I don't think we'll claim any great kind of insights into we were so much better prepared than anyone else. We weren't. But we were kind of small enough and nimble enough to be able to react. And, I think there was a lot of breweries very understandably that, put the businesses into suspended animation and everyone into furloughing. And we've used some furloughing in the cases where we just didn't have stuff for people to do, but we have been busy and that feels like a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we would claim that our business is better off now than it would have been absent this. That's, we would have preferred not to have had this situation, and even on a pure financial terms, the business would be better off. But it feels good to have exercised some control over our future, and there's, definitely for us a lot of positives over the tough times that we've had, probably particularly being closer to our clients.
And that's absolutely what you said about being a small business and therefore being agile and nimble enough to react quickly. Is what we're seeing in this the case with a lot of small businesses. Obviously, the bigger boys which exist remain closed because the powers from above have told them they have to be. So I think seeing small businesses like yours really react very quickly and adapt to the change has been such a pleasure to see. And those 600 people that you started servicing, I'm obviously absolutely delighted to have had you around as a service to keep them going during the last 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So how have you actually managed that? So how have you managed to bring it into the homes of people?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, in quite simple terms, we looked to what we had, which was this stock of, the glass vessels that enable us to deliver the beer and collect those empty vessels and bring them again. We had a van fleet that was used to delivering beer out to pubs, so they just became, a retail. And then we had a set of staff that, were, Dan, who's one of our team here, now very famous, probably for a month and a half, Melton's most popular man, bar none, as he drove around with our beer. We were able to repurpose what assets we have, because the challenge for any business like ours is, if you're going into a situation like this, is you don't really have the money to spend on extra stuff, or you can't pivot where it's going to cost you a fortune to do something, not knowing how long you're going to have to sustain that for, or can sustain it for. So we just looked to things that we could do readily with the assets that we have. And that is all of those vessels. We had a lot of draft beer, and so this is what was used there. And we were very lucky. We didn't have to spend any money on marketing, because the word of mouth was intensely strong on this one, where people were just they would see us on Facebook, and we have a good following on Facebook, and we always have. But even just the presence of our vans on residential streets where they wouldn't have been beforehand, and
they were being flagged down, weren't they, on street corners? Stop!
Yeah. Well, yeah, they'd be flagging us down, or the neighbors with the twitchy curtains wondering what you're getting delivered. And it worked really well. And let's not downplay the other element of this is, we feel very privileged to have amazing, supportive people who really got behind a local story, that they knew things were tough for us. I don't think it was completely about sympathy, but we'd be naive to not think that people really did rally around local businesses that they felt would benefit a lot from the support. And we would hope that we return that. And actually, furthermore, we would hope that that's a concept that would persevere, and I know that's some of the foundations of what the Great Food Club is based around, the kind of local success stories and provenance in those areas. And so, if there's a long-term kind of impact of this that we hope is a silver lining on a very difficult situation for everyone, forget about the business element of it. It's this real kind of renewed respect and focus on local, food and drink businesses, or any businesses of that matter, that would benefit most from support from people.
Yeah.
And, so,
and a real sense of community as well. And we're seeing that, aren't we? Or have seen that across the board, obviously, with the Thursday night, clap for carers, and there is this newfound sense of community that we were all in it together.
Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask was, what has surprised you the most, either about your business or the customers that have supported your business? So what's been your biggest eye-opener?
Yeah, I mean, I think the local element is definitely one. The other one is that, resilience I use from a business point of view, but also from a customer point of view, that they'll find a way to support you. Because if I look at the elements of this crisis, is, all the pubs are closed, and suddenly, as breweries across the country, everyone stopped brewing, and then you go, oh my God, let's stop and see, take breath. And then, demand kicks in unusual ways about supporting local breweries or cans or whatever. And so, if I look at one of the things that, was surprised, is we surprised ourselves with how resilient and how fast that we could move. I think we're a bit lucky, just the scale that we have is allowed us to do that. And I am surprised, generally about the depth of support that we've enjoyed. And, I think some of it, I hope, was deserved, and some of it we're just lucky to have very good people around us and support us. And so, probably for us, the trick of how do we carry that on is how do we return that faith? And I think we always have done. We work really hard to make sure that, what do we know about delivering beer to hundreds and hundreds of people? Normally it would be, a bunch of trade accounts a week. And so people cut us some slack. I think we did a really good job because they saw that we were working super hard to make it all work. So I think the support that we've had all the way through has been, quite magical. But yeah, the support of through the twists and turns that things have kept on going. And I think we're going to need plenty of that, because probably what's still a health crisis, is probably going to morph pretty quickly into an economic crisis. And I think small businesses like us, we really need to be able to differentiate ourselves versus, bigger businesses with maybe more financial clout or resources or, salespeople or whatever it might be. We need to be able to differentiate that by focus on the customers, by service, by all of the things that are necessary to support. Typically, the price points that we have because of our scale aren't what they would be for other people. And so how we keep going with, I suppose, returning the faith of our customers is one of the big, interesting challenges and opportunities for us for beyond now.
So what does the future look like around corner? So fingers crossed, your 300 pubs are very soon open to the public. They all come back. They want your beer.
Yeah.
What does that look like in terms of your new business profile?
Yeah. Our business has very rapidly changed to, one that is centered around providing beers directly to the drinking public, via deliveries, via collections, via web shop. But ultimately we see, the situation that the business will mature into. If we talk about less about round corner, but more generally across the beer market, there hasn't been any trends that have driven some of the demand over the last 3 months that appeared out of nowhere. There has been a lot of long-standing trends that probably have been accelerated. Primarily amongst them was, for a long time, people have been drinking more at home, and kind of how all food and drink businesses, including pubs and other areas, how they service those customers, or quite frankly how they attract people out of home. They're kind of challenges that have been there for a while. They're just going to become bigger. So yeah, I think for us the biggest thing is we are very keen. As I said, we haven't benefited from this crisis in any way, shape or form, both personally in our family lives and all those types of things. But economically, we'd have rather this thing hadn't taken place. It has done. We hope the pubs and clubs will be open again. That, for us they are a great route, to our customers at a business level, but also as people, we like going out. And, as a nation, I think we are people who have a nice rounded social life, etc. And so, we really hope for everyone's kind of, health and well-being, that the pubs and clubs can operate in a way. I think we're trying to not bet the farm that it's suddenly going to appear back and magically, the 4th of July, everyone will be back. That would seem to be naive. And you know, I think what we're trying to do for now is service the business that we have, know that there's probably no going back to the world that was there prior to the 20th of March, but that there's a new world there. And I think there'll always be a strong role for, you know, great pubs and restaurants. And, you know, for us, it's already started where we're speaking to, you know, anyone that, you know, wants to speak to us and talking about what's coming up, and, you know, also sort of thinking about, you know, how we carry forward some of the, you know, the areas around collecting beer here, or even we have our own venues, so we know some of the challenges that, you know, the venues will have. But, you know, I think it would be naive for us to suddenly go crazy and say brew 3 times as much beer, thinking that on the 4th of July people are going to rush back. I don't see it personally. But I think what we all need to do as food and drink businesses and venue providers, etc., is really provide 2 things. I think the first, the most important one is a trigger for people to come out, you know, and attract people out. And that's going to become even more important when you can't just rely on people being out and happening upon your venue, or, you know, there'll be probably less and less of that. And then when they're out in those things, and especially, you know, while, you know, we don't have a long-term solution to COVID-19, that, you know, that we provide very safe places, both for our staff and for our customers. And so, you know, we're very fortunate here that we've got, well, you've been here, a huge site, and
lots of outdoor space.
Yeah. So, you know, so we think about that as a kind of almost like a test case for us of, you know, how we can look after customers that want to come here and just learn a few things that we can help our other partners. But yeah, I think our long-term ambition is to have a very vibrant business where our beer is sold in all the great pubs and restaurants around the region. But also, you know, our intention right now is to look at some of our packaged product, because we were completely about pubs and restaurants. We probably figure out we can't really put all our eggs in one basket in the future. So we're looking at things like a canning line. So there's a big capital investment that we have to make in the business to give ourselves some power, because if there's some things that we got wrong within this situation, it's definitely that we didn't have control on packaging of our products into areas like cans, and that cost us 6 to 7 weeks of really tough time, when actually within those 6 to 7 weeks, you know, from mid-March to the end of April, people properly socialized. There was a lot of beer sold and drunk, and you know, I think people, you know, who were prepared from a business level for that, you know, really did well. And we weren't one of those people, and that's fine, you know. But I think the longer term trend, which used to be up until now, probably about by volume, 55% of beer was sold, you know, kind of in retail outlets of one description or other, mainly supermarkets, and then 45% on trade. You know, it would seem logical to conclude that after being 100% off trade for the last while, it's unlikely to go back to just 55%, you know, to settle somewhere between those 2 numbers, and kind of how we as a, you know, primarily a drinks manufacturing business kind of sets ourselves up to that. But what we don't want to do is lose sight that, you know, the pubs and restaurants are enormously valuable areas for our business, and areas where we want our beer, you know, sort of consumed and drunk and supported. So we'll think about everything that we can do to support the pubs and restaurants as they come back online, you know, however tentatively or however much some of them might try and come back with a real bang in it. But most of us are still waiting for this long promised list of details in terms of how venues need to be set up in order to open on the 4th, if that is indeed the date that ends up being.
Reborn on the 4th of July.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, personally, I maybe I'm showing my ignorance, but I don't know where the 4th of July literally came from. It's a Saturday, I think, and you know, maybe. Hey ho.
It's like the summer, doesn't it? July, sort of officially here.
Yeah. So that's why I've got my like Forrest Gump round corner hat on for the 4th of July, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So any parting words of wisdom? So anything you'd like to say to the people that supported you, anything you'd like to say to anyone out there that wants to support you in your journey going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think we feel very fortunate, you know, some of the things we controlled, but actually, we're realistic to know that really we're still here, and I think doing relatively well versus where we might have been, because of the support of hundreds and hundreds of people who chose to drink our beer when they could have made lots of choices to do other things. And I think I feel enormously privileged that we're in a position that they chose to do that, and it's our job to kind of return that faith. And that'll come in the form of having a great tap room and venue here that people can come and really celebrate, but in a safe environment. How things work. We also return the faith of the pubs and venues, and making sure that our beer will be there for them, fresh, supplied under good terms, because I suspect most pubs won't want to be buying large volumes, and so utilizing yet again our flexibility is going to be really important there. And for us then, sort of thinking about kind of how we grow from here. So we've been very successful locally, but we've won all sorts of global awards for our beers. They're very well awarded across multiple international competitions. And so for us, we have aspirations in terms of national and international beer, and kind of but we'll always know where our home is, and our home is here in the livestock market at Melton Mowbray, and we feel very privileged for that. And I think we know why we're here, and that won't be forgotten very quickly from us, in terms of however big or international we become, if that's the way it goes. So yeah, I think we're very grateful, and kind of how I would encourage kind of people to definitely bear in mind the safety and all those types of things. But if I have a message that transcends my own self-interest in beer, but maybe it is encourage people to shop locally and support independent businesses of whatever nature. And I'm really encouraged about how many people do that. We're very fortunate because we have a big site that we have for our collections. We invite businesses to come here and sell. There's a business called Feast and Furious that does smoke goods. They're here every week. There's a pizza maker called Sebastian who comes here as well. And these are tremendous businesses that really are worthy of support to people. So, I think the supermarkets will do okay, regardless of kind of some of our micro decisions, but it's disproportionately important that we consider our friends and neighbors who are there trying to set up businesses. And so, if people can afford it, or spend the time or search out these things, please do shop locally and independently where possible.
Very well said, and I couldn't have put it better myself. So it feels like a fitting time to end. So one last time, where are you? So that everyone who's listening in who has never heard of you before knows exactly where to come and find you.
Great. Yeah, so we're Round Corner Brewing. We're based at the livestock market in Melton Mowbray, the 1,000-year-old livestock market. So here in Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire, and our beers are available both here. We have a tap room eagerly waiting to open, but as I said, hundreds of bars around the East Midlands, and also our website, roundcornerbrewing.com. We sell beers online there, delivered throughout the UK and Ireland.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you all. Bye-bye.